has reason to be outraged. Is the outrage misplaced, or is Anubhav Sinha, the director of this series, sympathetic towards the ISI? Why is it that the filmmaker seems so keen on giving the ISI a clean sheet? I had an opportunity to binge watch, in fact, on office hours during the time that we were working. This is part of work, of course. Watch the series. We look at what's shown, what's not shown, and why, and try and understand the motives for the manner in which this series has been depicted and why people are so angry. All of that and more coming up on the news track tonight.
कितने पैसेंजर्स हैं? डिमांड्स
176 अभी तक कोई डिमांड नहीं आई।
यूएई हमारी हेल्प करेगा क्या?
यूएई को अमेरिका से पूछना पड़ेगा।
प्लेन लैंड कराइए।
टीवी चैनल्स देखे तुमने? सब कह रहे हैं that the captain should have waited longer in अमृतसर। टीवी जल्दी में रहता है शालिनी।
India's most notorious hijack. Haunts nation 25 years later.
लोगों को सिर्फ ये याद रहेगा कि इस गवर्नमेंट ने इतने मिलिटेंट्स को छोड़ा।
जान लेने से पहले 1000 बार सोचना, लेकिन जान बचाने से पहले।
Big halla over IC-814 explodes. Government steps in, gets Netflix to bow.
दुनिया देखेगी पाकिस्तान की नई हुकूमत ने क्या किया।
कहाँ लेके गया तू पांचों को? कौन पैसा दे रहा है तुझे? ISI.
Online fury, real world result. Justified debate or empty noise?
Before we dive into our debate and some of the important players from that time, those who were on the crew, those who were responsible for external intelligence, will be joining me on the news track. But let me take you through the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Bengal Assembly passes anti-rape bill that seeks death penalty for rapists if victim dies. Mamata Banerjee accuses the PM and the Home Minister of failing to protect women. Nucleus of polls ahead of the polls in Haryana. Congress and AAP alliance in the cards. Seat-sharing talks to begin soon. Harge family trust land under scanner in Karnataka. Government seeks report. BJP claims 19-acre land in Kalburgi also given for free to the Congress chief's family. Congress denies these charges. Heavy rains leave a trail of destruction in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Death toll crosses 30 in the two states. Lakhs affected. Rescue operations are underway. Narendra Modi becomes the first Indian PM to visit Brunei in 40 years. PM visits Omar Ali Saifuddin Mosque. Boosting energy ties tops the agenda. The storm over the Netflix series IC-814, the Kandahar Hijack, continues to rage on. After outrage over the code names of the terrorists, the Information and Broadcasting Ministry met the Netflix India content head in New Delhi today. The message from the government was clear. No one has the right to play with the sentiments of the nation. Netflix, in response, has added the real names of the terrorists along with their code names in the show now.
Good evening, this is your captain speaking.
I regret to inform you that ये plane hijack हो चुका है.
The storm over Netflix series IC-814, the Kandahar Hijack, is exploding.
हम जल्द से जल्द अपने घर पहुंच सकें.
The makers of the show and the OTT platform are accused of using Hindu names for the Pakistani hijackers and not explicitly revealing their true identities.
इंडियन एयरलाइंस का प्लेन हाईजैक हुआ है।
The outrage over the alleged glorification of terrorists has prompted the centre to take action.
We have a bigger problem.
कांधार की तरफ जा रहे हैं.
The content head of Netflix India met Information and Broadcasting Secretary Sanjay Jaju in New Delhi on Tuesday. Sources say the meeting lasted for about 40 minutes. Voicing concern over the depiction of terrorists in the web series, the government told the Netflix executive that nobody has the right to play with the sentiments of the people of this nation and that Indian culture and civilization should always be respected. Sources say that the INB ministry also said that the Netflix executive was asked if any foreign people should be allowed to slipshod over our cultural values. The ministry's view is that filmmakers have to think before portraying something in a wrong manner, and being liberal doesn't give them the license to portray institutions in a wrong manner. In its response, Netflix has agreed to update the opening disclaimer to include the real and code names of the hijackers.
For the benefit of audiences unfamiliar with the 1999 hijacking of Indian Airlines Flight 814, the opening disclaimer has been updated to include the real and code names of the hijackers. The code names in the series reflect those used during the actual event. India has a rich culture of storytelling, and we are committed to showcasing these stories and their authentic representation. Monika Shergill, Vice President Content, Netflix India.
But trouble is far from over for the web series. A plea has been filed in the Delhi High Court against IC 814, the Kandahar Hijack. The plea seeks a ban on the show.
But we have a bigger problem.
Hashtags boycott Netflix, hashtag boycott Bollywood, and hashtag IC814 have been trending on social media, claiming the makers changed the names of the hijackers to Shankar and Bhola to allegedly protect the terrorists who belong to a certain community.
उनको नाम दिए गए थे, वो उसी नाम से ही कॉल करके उनको बुलाते थे। वो एक जैसे पर्टिकुलर एक उनका को होगा, वो उसी नाम से उन्होंने दिए गए थे। वो तो नेटफ्लिक्स वालों को इसमें कुछ नहीं है, से तो सारे मुस्लिम ही, बट वो इन्होंने हिंदू नाम रखे हुए थे कॉलिंग के लिए। उसी टाइम भी ऐसे ही थे। एक्चुअल फैक्ट ये है इसमें।
The debate over what's fact, what's fiction and creative liberty continues to rage on.
We are completely out of fuel. Mayday, mayday, mayday.
With Aishwarya Paliwal in New Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's try and unpack several of the layers around this controversy over IC814. Joining me on this broadcast, I want to welcome Anil Sharma. He was the chief of the cabin crew of Indian Airlines flight IC814. Mr. Sharma, thank you for taking out time to join us. Kanchan Gupta is with us. He was in the Prime Minister's office as officer on special duty to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, member also of the National Security Advisory Board, worked very closely with the then National Security Advisor, Brajesh Mishra, when the hijacking happened. Hindal Sen Gupta joins us, historian, author, analyst. With us also is Ravira Bhardwaj, who's an actress. In a while from now, I'll be joined by A.S. Dullat, who was the chief of the Research and Analysis Wing at that time. I want to go across to Kanchan Gupta first. You had a ringside view to what was happening during the Kandahar hijacking. Why is it that you are particularly outraged? You know, part of the anger that we're seeing in the right wing is because of the fact that the hijackers used Hindu code names. Now, this is something the government has confirmed. You know, it's on the MEA website. The MHA has given a response. It says so over there as well, that these were the code names that these hijackers used. So why, Kanchanda, are you so angry and upset with IC814? Explain why you're particularly outraged at the moment. Kanchan Gupta?
Yeah, that's a very long question. So I will try to quickly answer all the three parts of it. One, I don't think the outrage is only about the code names that were used by the hijackers and the code names that were given to them by their ISI handlers in Pakistan. Two, we have to look at the IC814 hijacking not in isolation, but as an event that has a foreground to it and a background to it. So the third part is that you do not take a very complex story like the hijacking of IC814 and reduce it into a mini series for Netflix without at least trying to have a 360-degree view of what happened during that one horrible week which all of us faced. Rahul, it's very easy to look back and say, oh, the government failed, the government looked weak, the government was confused, and whatever you wish to say. And that is the sort of suggestion which is reflected in the series.
No, but that's not far from reality. The fact is that the aircraft was more than 30 minutes at the Amritsar airport. We did nothing about it. There were failures at multiple layers, including tip-offs from the research and analysis wing.
Rahul,
But these are facts.
I can either answer your question or I can listen to you.
Okay, go on.
It's very easy to sit here today and say that the government did nothing. The plane landed in Amritsar. The NSG could not be reached there on time for whatever reason. I will not go into it. And what were your options? I mean, there was one suggestion that we place a fuel tank on the runway in front of the plane so that the pilot cannot take off. Now, if you had done that, and I'm pretty sure of it, and so that was also the assessment of the security bosses present in the emergency control room, that if you try to place a fuel tanker in front of the aircraft, the hijackers who had nothing to lose and their handlers had nothing to lose, they would have told the pilot to take off nonetheless, and you would have had a huge explosion in which all the Indians and the foreigners traveling in that plane would have died. Now, is that the suggestion? Is that what we should have tried to do?
No, but what's your specific problem with the series IC814? Now, why there was a failure, whether the government did enough, not enough, that's a matter of historical debate. But what's your specific, you're saying that the Hindu names, which was the initial problem, the Hindu names of these five characters, that's not the problem. Two of them have Hindu names.
The media decided on its own that the Hindu names were the only problem. The Hindu names were a problem insofar as the makers of the serial, they should have explicitly pointed out that these are code names. They never did that. They never pointed out the
No, but no serious person is going to think that the name is Bhola and Shankar. Sir, but no serious person is going to think that their names are Bhola and Shankar. They're taking them to Kandahar.
You would be surprised. You would be surprised. I mean, after all, you took the, what do you call it? I mean, the kaleba or the moli which Hindus wear after a puja. They took the moli on Kasab's hand to take it as some evidence. An entire book was published, and Digvijay Singh of the Congress went and released it, that Mumbai was an RSS sajish. So we live in a country where people are very easily persuaded by things like this. Now, somebody who was 5 years old 25 years ago has no recollection of what happened during that 1 week, and probably had never heard of IC814 till this serial happened. And when this serial happens, all that 30-year-old man sees is that these people had Hindu names.
No, but that's not the only thing he sees, because it's a very long series and the names are used in just a couple of places. The fact also is it not also a fact that part of the reason some people are outraged is because this happened on the watch of a BJP government, that this government thinks of itself as being very strong on national security. This massive security failure happened on the watch of the Vajpayee government, and that doesn't sit well with some of the dramatis persona who are in important positions of power today.
Well, you show the National Security Advisor as a bumbling fool and the hijackers as a smart set. You show your intel agencies in a very poor light. Now, Rahul, if you want to go pull down your country's government, your country's establishment, you are welcome to do so. But you know, there is a price which you pay for this. Today, shall we make a film to suggest, and it has been suggested in all seriousness, that the Twin Towers were never destroyed, they never existed, and it was all a Hollywood show which was managed with scale buildings, models. So, I mean, you know, if we try to sell that as a serial, would it run? Would Netflix run it? Now, don't give me this thing that it was creative license. Creative license has to stop at some point, especially when you are dealing with a situation which was of hostage taking. It was a terrorist attack on India in the skies, and it happened from Kathmandu, and it is not something which happened out of India. And you cannot say that the government, I mean, after all, the government brought back every hostage alive, and that by itself, I think, showed a huge success of that government. It's very easy now
So
to
Dada,
say,
you were part of that operation, and therefore you're thinking of it as a success. I was a cub reporter at the time. I think of it as a failure. Now that's where differences are acceptable.
Why do you think of it as a failure?
Because you let go of 3 terrorists who played a very pivoted role in terrorist activities in India and elsewhere. Now that's a matter of a much larger debate. So the warnings from RAW, if they'd been acted on time, if somebody had taken a decision, asked the Punjab DGP to send his commandos, the Punjab DGP later says, I was waiting for instructions and none of them came, nobody took a decision. That's what A.S. Dullat says as well. They were looking at each other, waiting for somebody to take a decision. There was a paralysis of decision making, which is why the hijacking succeeded in the first place.
The hijacking didn't happen out of India. The hijacking happened out of Kathmandu. I mean, you know, this is how the retelling of a story happens. This is how restructuring happens of history. Now, you know, the whole story of IC-814 has been reduced to the script of this serial. That this is what happened. No, sorry, this is not what happened. And we can go and talking about it, and we can talk about it till the cows come home. But to suggest that the government failed because it brought back every citizen on that plane alive back home, and to say that it would have been a success if we would have dared the terrorists to do whatever you wish, you think they would have let go of these people? They killed one man, they would have killed every passenger by passenger by passenger.
Okay, that's coming from Kanchan Gupta, who, as I said, was at that time working very closely with Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, was also part of the National Security Advisory Board working with the then NSA Brajesh Mishra. So he has a ringside view. Naturally, he thinks it wasn't a failure. I want to go across to Amarjeet Singh Dullat, and I want to tell our viewers that he was head of the Research and Analysis Wing at the time of the Kandahar hijacking, was a member of the Crisis Management Group during the 814 hijack. Mr. Dullat, welcome. You know, we're just hearing from the likes of Kanchan Gupta, who say that no, given the fact that this plane had already been hijacked in Kathmandu, which was outside India's jurisdiction, this was the best that could have been done, given that we had a very tough hand to play with. Now, you've had an opportunity to look at this controversy. What do you make of this Netflix series IC-814, the manner in which events are depicted, and whether or not you think this outrage is justified, Mr. Dullat?
No, the thing is that I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen bits and pieces, so I don't want to get into that. The point here is that, yeah, it was a very, very tough hand to play. And the hand was with us only up to Amritsar. You know, while the plane landed in Amritsar, we had an opportunity to make sure it doesn't leave Indian territory. But once it had left Amritsar, I would agree with Mr. Gupta that there was no other option but to do a deal. And we did the best possible deal through the best possible negotiators, and that's what happened at the end.
Why did
but yes, Amritsar was
no one take a decision at that time, Mr. Dullat? And I'm asking you because you were in the Crisis Management Group, you were head of RAW when this hijacking happened in 1999. Why did no one take a decision to send commandos at the Amritsar airport to try and storm this plane while it was still on Indian soil?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was a goof up there. And because nobody took a call, you know. Delhi
who should have taken that call, Mr. Dullat?
Punjab and the Punjab police. Well, we were all there. We should have taken a call. Now, I don't want to name names, and I'm not going to name names. It's not fair after so many years to name names. But we were all there, so I would say I'm also to blame, you know. as much as anybody else. But who had to take the call? Well, that's a different thing.
No, but this is a political call. It's not a call that an officer can take. If you're going to send Kamal, like for example, when we went across after Uri and when Balakot happened, that was a political call. These aren't just calls services and their chiefs can take.
Yeah, but the crisis management group doesn't have politicians, let me tell you that. Now, if it is changed now, I don't know. But in 1999, the crisis management group did not consist of any politician. There was no politician there.
No, but you're answerable not just...
came and went.
Sir, as former head of research and analysis wing, you're also answerable to all those youngsters who are watching this series at this moment and wondering how could our government and how could the officials have been so inept to let this hijacking happen. I mean, the RAW station in Kathmandu is giving constant information from all the research, even including what's shown in IC814, the Kandahar Hijack, is giving updates.
No, that's all rubbish. No, that's all rubbish.
Now, how is it rubbish?
Update,
there were updates that were coming in. It is also a fact that one officer from the research and analysis wing was on that plane.
Must have been coming to you or somebody else. It was not coming to us there. Or nor was it coming to the RNAW. I can vouch for that.
You are saying that the Kathmandu station of RAW, which is one of the big stations that RAW has, gave no information at all because that's not what a lot of research says and that's also not what's in this series.
Well, you can see what you like and you can believe what you like, but I'm telling you, as head of the organization, there was no such information.
It's also a fact that one RAW officer was on this plane, sir.
Yeah, that of course is a fact. I'm not denying that fact. But that's got nothing to do with information coming in. That poor man who was stuck in that plane for 8 days or 7.5 days, he didn't know nothing about all this. It just happened. It's just a bad coincidence that he was stuck in his flight.
No, but it also shows how clueless the agency that you headed at that time was, that such a major conspiracy was being hatched and they had no idea about it, Mr. Dulal. It doesn't paint the RAW in very good eyes in the view of those who are watching and tuning into this controversy now.
Yeah, you're right. Whenever anything goes wrong, it's always an intelligence failure. So, yeah, it was an intelligence failure, you could say. But where was the intelligence failure? How do you foresee a hijack? There have been so many hijacks all over the world. Where have they been nipped in the bud or whatever it is, or stopped? When a hijack happens, it happens. And this was not the first hijack which happened in India.
No, but the point that I'm making is if such a major conspiracy is afoot right under our noses in Kathmandu, surely the RAW, which has a massive presence there, is expected to have a good sense of what's happening under their noses.
That's what you believe, that it was happening in Kathmandu. It may have been happening in Mumbai, you know. It may have been happening in Delhi. It may have been happening anywhere. In fact, these 5 fellows who hijacked that aircraft, they got their passports from Bombay. And that's how we got to know that who was who and who had hijacked the aircraft and how they had got these passports in Bombay.
Sir, one of the allegations against this series is that it depicts the ISI in favorable light. You know, towards the end, the filmmakers basically try and give the ISI some kind of a clean sheet by saying, oh, they were so out of the loop with what was happening that when the hostages were freed and the terrorists were released, that the ISI wasn't even called to the celebration that took place where you had Osama bin Laden of the Al-Qaeda, you had the Taliban. They were all celebrating with these 3 terrorists and the ones who carried out the hijacking, but the ISI was nowhere there. They're giving the ISI a clean sheet. As former RAW chief, what's your understanding of the role the ISI played?
Oh, the ISI definitely had a role in this. There's no doubt about that. And, this is borne out not only by our reports and things, there was a Pakistani journalist, well-known journalist, I'm just forgetting his name, who happened to be there in Kandahar, and he reported. He said one could make out very clearly the role of the ISI and how the ISI controlled the whole operation.
No,
so
so
I don't have to say that.
Then why do you think
Pakistani
Anubhav
who
Sinha,
said
the filmmaker, is seen showing the ISI in such...
You better ask Anubhav Sinha, you know, I'm not... I'm not a filmmaker. I'm talking reality.
Now, I want to come back to Amritsar, Mr. Dulat, because you can't just get away by saying, oh, we couldn't take a decision. I mean, if the plane is there for 40 plus minutes, surely something or the other should have been done in that time. I mean, that is what people like you and others, including Mr. Doval, our current national security advisor, spend their life training for. It's at that moment when you need to take the decision, and at that particular time there is paralysis in decision making. Who was responsible for that, sir?
As I said, I won't name names, you know. We were all responsible. There were 5 or 6 of us there. We were all responsible.
No, so all of you just couldn't take a decision, like you were just playing ping pong, passing the ball to each other. You couldn't take a decision on what to do with the situation that presented itself before you, sir?
That's what I'm telling you, that a decision was not taken. There was no decision taken. You know? And I'm not saying this for the first time. I'm saying this for maybe the 20th time or so. This whole 814 has come up all over again after such a long time. I said this when this happened. And I was interviewed umpteen times then also, and I said the same thing. That yeah, there was a goof up in Amritsar. We could blame Punjab police. Actually, Mr. Gill had held the Punjab police responsible. But the Punjab police's way of looking at it was that I had a long conversation with the DG, and he said, I'm not KPS Gill, and I was not going to put my job on this thing. And so he says his chief minister told him he didn't want to have bloodshed in Amritsar, the chief minister being Mr. Prakash Singh Badal. And Delhi was indicating the same thing, because when the DG said, we can storm the plane, but I can't tell you how many casualties there would be. At the name of casualties and at the name of bloodshed, nobody wanted to take a call on that. That's the reality.
In hindsight, do you think that was a bad decision? Do you think we should have just gone in and stormed the plane?
Well, that's one option. We could have done that. But I think in hindsight, and that's what I said is, I think the message which needed to be conveyed to the DG Punjab or to the Punjab police was, this aircraft is with you now in Amritsar. Just make sure it doesn't leave Amritsar. Instead of talking about bloodshed and least amount of bloodshed or most amount of bloodshed, then the ball would have squarely been in the Punjab police court. As it so happened, I wouldn't blame the Punjab police, no.
Okay,
because as I say, the DG was not willing to take...
No, he also is quoted as saying, I was waiting for Delhi to give me a clear instruction, I got none. And my chief minister told me that there should be no bloodshed, let it pass if it has to pass. And he says, if I had got a clear instruction from Delhi, I would have done what needed to be done.
That's right. I agree with him. I don't disagree. But what he would have done, I don't know. But he's right in saying that he was waiting for instructions from Delhi, which were not forthcoming. They never happened.
Okay, I'll leave it there, Mr. Dulat. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you taking out time. You're an important player in what happened at that time. You've shared with us what you could. Thank you for that. Hindal Sen Gupta. There's a lot of outrage that we're seeing amongst the right-wing ecosystem, which says that IC-814 is a hatchet job for the ISI, that Anubhav Sinha seems to be whitewashing the role of the ISI. But then there's also creative license and liberty, and you're an author yourself. Anubhav, and we saw from the press conference that they did, they said, this is the way we see things. This is the film that we wanted to make, the series we wanted to make. If somebody else wants to make something else, tomorrow Hindal can get up and make his own version of IC-814.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. If this is the creative liberty Anubhav Sinha has, I have the creative liberty to call him a traitor to this country. There is all kinds of treachery that happens to nations. Selling nuclear, information, nuclear weapons information is not the only kind of treachery. Creating a false narrative about the security conditions of a country so that future generations get a wrong impression about the crisis in a country is also treachery. It's narrative treachery. Anubhav Sinha belongs to a small clique, a cabal within Bollywood, which will do anything. They have this idea that they're going to bring peace between India and Pakistan by lying consistently about Pakistan, its role in hurting India consistently, and about the ISI.
No, so are you also amongst those Hindol who are objecting to Bola and Shankar?
This is not creative liberty, in my opinion. These are lies. At the end of the day, this series completely whitewashes Pakistan and ISI's role. This is treachery. This series shows that the raw officials torturing, people in Nepal, that absolutely didn't happen. No reading that you do on what actually happened will ever give you this. This is absolutely imagination, and this is imagination designed to create false impressions against the country. So I repeat, if this is creative license, then I'm absolutely at liberty to say that the people who made this are essentially traitors. This is narrative treachery.
No, but are you amongst those who say that showing the names of two of the terrorists, their code names as Bola and Shankar is also wrong? Because now, there is enough material in the public domain, including admissions by the Ministry of Home Affairs and External Affairs, that those are the names they use.
I think it is extremely sly and dastardly and particularly malignant. It is true that these were the call names that were used, aliases that were used by these people. But to not mention anywhere in an entire series what their real names were actually is basically a particular kind of malignant propaganda. It bases on the fact that a whole new generation is coming up in India and other parts of the world, which are only on-screen generations. They will learn their history to things like this. And if you lie like this in series like this on popular platforms like Netflix, this is the history that they will learn about their country. And 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, Rahul, if your children turn around and say it is Bola and Shankar who hijacked the plane, you shouldn't be surprised. You should lay it at the door of Anubhav Sinha. This is the problem. And we should all be cognizant of what is happening. This is not a mistake. This is not a creative license, according to me. This is all done deliberately, and this is malicious intent.
Anil Sharma, who is the chief of the cabin crew of IC-814, is listening in. I can only imagine what you would have gone through because you were there, you lived through those days. Now, you've seen the series, you're seeing this controversy. How much of what is shown in the series is actually what happened, and how much of it seems to be some kind of narrative building exercise?
Good evening, Rahul. Yes, I have watched the series with some dismay, and also I'm still a little bewildered. I don't think I can decisively say that this debate about fiction versus inspiration versus portrayal of this events as it suits a director's imagination is settled. There'll still be people who favor or strongly back the director that he is at liberty to do whatever he did. As an insider, as somebody who went through that, obviously, when you find IC-814 written on the title, you start believing, there's going to be a semblance of, there's going to be some resemblance to the originality. There isn't to begin with. As Mr. Hindol said, that all those things which are happening in Kathmandu, they are new and they've not been in the public domain. So, okay, you could credit that to cinematic liberty. But when it starts, the aircraft gets taken over, there are inaccuracies. On a personal level, I am shown attacked with blood all over my face, and then the horses take over. Then there's a very strange disinclination on the part of the directors to spend even 30 seconds or thereabouts to introduce the rest of the crew. which they've done in the case of the cockpit crew, all right. Why I say that is because then at one point in the series they show 8 of them planning, 8 of us, whatever you say, planning to take on the hijackers. So if you go to show the roles, you might as well give them names to begin with. Then I don't think from the point of view of film viewer, the tension in the cabin was very well captured or documented. It was just, they were, as if they were rushing to a scene. They wanted to get to the negotiations part of the show. And I'm in agreement with people who, as Mr. Dulat said, that I think that officials were doing a very good job, and it's not. It didn't happen the way it did, and it's up to Kanchanda and Mr. Dulat to dwell on that further. But as someone who has known Mr. Doval, he released my book. He also came to address us over after the release, after the deal was done in the aircraft, after having met Mr. Vivek Karju over there, after having met officials of the Intelligence Bureau who kind of interrogated us after we came back. I am pretty confident that they did try their best, and the coup-ups that we're talking about at Amritsar is a bigger debate for me to enter into.
No, so how much of what is shown is what you saw happen around you, and how much of it seems to be just fantasy and make-believe? Why I ask you this is because everybody else can have an opinion, but you were there, you actually saw what happened.
See, you see a sense of exaggeration in quite a few things. Like, as I said,
but they're not claiming to be a documentary. They're saying it's a cinematic adaptation of what happened.
Even if that is the case, won't you show, haven't we seen shows on hijacking incidents made in the international cinema by Hollywood or elsewhere? They pay attention to detail. Here it wasn't. It was almost as if the intention wasn't there. They didn't seem very keen to portray the terror as it actually affected the passengers. There's scenes where they've shown them slapping and all that, but I think in a 6-part series, they could have gone into a little more detail about how it was affecting, which families were actually getting more affected by this thing. Yes, there are good points also, let's be honest. They've shown Ripon Katyal's wife actually very, very tormented by the absence of her husband. But I don't know, something doesn't sound very convincing about the portrayal of the happenings in the aircraft. And then the exaggerations tend to take... now, as I said, you not settle the debate between whether it's fiction or it's inspired by the series. So you're giving it a title, IC-814, then anyone watching it would be justified in expecting it, that they'll be true to the original story.
So Arnab Ray joins me. He's an author and he's taken the position that this is a big mistake by the government and the right-wing ecosystem in attacking IC-814. Do you want to explain that, Arnab? Why is it that you feel that those protesting, the likes of Kanchanda or Hindol and others, are actually taking a position which doesn't do India or this government or the BJP any good? Arnab.
So for me, the problem started with the original attack tag that was used by the Hindu right-wing IT cell, which was on the use of these names. That somehow the director was trying to imply that they were not Islamic terrorists, but they were Hindu terrorists. Now that was factually incorrect because, as we all know now, that these were the actual code names that they used. So my point that I made was that this was not what you should attack it on. The problem that sometimes social media, it happens in social media, is that people get fixated on the wrong thing. And this is honestly pretty much, and this is an extremely political movie in my opinion. I think that what the creators are trying to get at is not that this was not an act of Islamic terror. I mean, anybody with half a brain who watches the movie, even if they've never heard of it, would not think that Hindu terrorists would take a plane to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, right? So it doesn't make any sense. the real sleight of hand is somewhere different. I think it is that this movie is a political movie which does exist. It's part of a very progressive platform to do two things. First of all, to blame the then BJP government, which you can say is fair game. The second is, in my opinion, it humanizes the terrorists, which I don't think is fair game. And that is where the objection should have been. Having said that, with things like this, the best strategy is to ignore. This is something which the right-wing ecosystem has yet to learn. If you outrage, any publicity is good publicity. Just look at this. We are now discussing this TV series here on prime time. We are giving this TV series vital oxygen. And as somebody who's written for a TV series, I would know that this is gold. And so if you really think that something is objectionable, just don't talk about it. Ignore it. The left-wing ecosystem has figured that out long time ago. Just deplatform, pretend it doesn't exist.
Kanchanda, you want to respond to this? You know, I hadn't seen the whole series yesterday. I watched it. I would never watch a TV series during working hours. But given the fact that we had to do this show, and if you want to do a meaningful job, you have to know what you're talking about. So I watched the whole thing. And a lot of other people would be watching now. Laga ke dekhte hain ki hai kya? You know, so all this outrage actually has Netflix laughing all the way to the bank, and Anubhav Sinha is the happiest person going around.
Well, you know, Arnab is making out as if the only issue with the government is what happens on social media, or the outrage on social media. I'm sorry, it's not as simplistic as he makes it out to be. There are problems, as I said, and I'm repeatedly telling this to you. Maybe Arnab was not around when this show began. That it is the Hindu code names that have been used is the least of all issues that we think are of concern. And because you cannot deny that these were code names that were actually used. And the government itself, I mean, the Home Minister, Mr. Advani, when he made a statement in Parliament, he made it very evident. It was a factual statement which gave a full disclosure of all that had happened. I can only repeat what I told you, that there is a 360-degree view of IC 814, and that is not reflected in this serial.
Now, there are different ways of looking at it, Ravira Bhardwaj. One is what you're hearing from Kanchan Gupta, and even from...
Just let me complete one point over here.
Yes.
That this is nothing. I mean, in our assessment, the tone, the tenor, the direction of the script, the manner in which it has been put together, Arnab has added a political label to it, that they come in from the left, or they come in from wherever, the liberal left. I am not interested in that. I'm just saying that the script has been crafted in a manner, the production has been done in a manner that it whitewashes the actual crime of IC 814. It humanizes the terrorists. It normalizes crime as grievous as hijacking an aircraft, a passenger aircraft, and it ultimately goes to the benefit of Pakistan, which can now turn around and tell you, India today, that see, we told you that we were never involved in this hijacking, and this your own film made by your own people says that makes no mention of us over there.
Now, Ravira
Bhardwaj,
there is a point there.
Let me quote someone who does not definitely reflect our views, Veer Sanghvi, who says that this serial is nothing but a propaganda film for the ISI.
Now, Ravira Bhardwaj, here's the thing. If this series was called IC 850 or something like that, I'm just making it up, then you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want, because you're not claiming to be inspired by real events. When you're inspired by real events, then the expectation is that you'll be as true to what actually happened, given how recent this is in public memory. And yet, as I watch this, especially towards the end, even I'm left wondering, why is this filmmaker so sympathetic towards the ISI? He says the ISI was so out of the loop in terms of what was happening that when the Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are celebrating, ISI officers weren't even invited to that celebration. I mean, that's as much of a washing of the ISI sins as is possible, given the reality that we know that ISI officers had a very important role to play in the masterminding of the operation, its execution, and the manner in which it was carried out.
So first of all, I would like to say our agenda was like why Bhola and Shankar was used in the film. And we are talking about quoting all of you, creative liberty, creative leverage. This actually happened. As you said, that this is based on the actual incident. And me as a young audience, when I was like probably just born when this incident took place, and me watching the show, I realized something like this can also happen. This made me more aware that terrorists don't come with Muslim names always, but also in the series they are shown practicing namaz and how brutally they kill the passengers out there. And I think that rage comes out of all those trolls, those self-claiming nationalists, can be bots writing on Twitter or something, X. And as a Hindu, as a Brahmin, I didn't have a problem that those names were used because it actually gave me an information and made me careful. God forbid something like this ever happens again. I know that this can happen. I'll be more aware. And if as a Brahmin, I don't have a problem. I don't know who all are those people who have such a big issue that they're just extending it and talking about something that happened 25 years ago and not taking it as just an information and dwelling more into what could have happened, what didn't happen. We can't change the past. And I think the director has just shown what has happened and it's based on it. It's not going to change the fact that it was Bhola or Shankar. The director stuck to the facts that actually those names were used. It makes us more informative about the fact that this can happen. Okay. And I think there's nothing wrong in it.
Kanchan Gupta, now that Netflix has put out this disclaimer, which will come, during the beginning, giving their real names, and is this where the controversy rests? Is this where it ends? You're on mute. You're on mute, Dada. Kanchanda, you're on mute.
Also, I think
you, Rahul, are distilling it to just 2 names or 4 names or whatever. And the question you asked this the lady here was not about the names. It was, why is it that by the time you by the time you have watched all of it, you realize that you are told, you don't realize, you are told that the ISI was not in the loop, Pakistan was not aware of it. I mean, these are the things which we should be talking about.
No, and we are.
That is not what it was. Even while the hijacking was on, we had found out that 4 of the facilitators were in Bombay. That 3 of them came from Pakistan, 2 I think from Lahore and 1 from Rawalpindi. We found out the real names of the hijackers from their Bombay handlers, and Mr. Dullat just made a very passing reference to it, understandably so.
This is truly baffling.
Very complex thing. It was a very complex story. You wanted to know why did the government not do this, not do that. The government was under 24/7 siege. NDTV was running 24/7 a Rudali show of women beating their chests. Some doctor in Delhi rushing into a press conference by Jaswant Singh, saying Kashmir de do, kuch bhi de do, unko wapas lao. That was the situation NDTV was creating. I have absolutely no hesitation in saying this now.
No, but those in government need to know how to deal with that pressure.
Coming and saying, pretending as if she is some great counter-terror expert, that the government should have done this, government should have done that. Baba, government did it in consultation with the main opposition. The main opposition was taken into full confidence, and the main opposition very clearly said, we stand with the government. And the main opposition from day one said, not a single passenger should be harmed. All of them have to be brought back alive. That was the consensus. That was the political consensus. And when the government brings the passengers alive, you say, oh, the government did nothing. You wanted the government to tell the hijackers कि जाओ plane को जहाज को उड़ा दो हम कुछ नहीं मानते आपकी.
This is also from.
And you will not surprisingly ask the producers, why is it that in the end you exonerate?
No, I don't understand that. I simply don't understand that, which is why I invited Anubhav Sinha, and I want to extend that invitation publicly as well.
Pulwama was carried out by whom?
If you're watching Anubhav, I'd be very keen, not in an antagonistic fashion, but just to try and understand what's really going on. Because if this was a film made by somebody who's funded by the ISI, it makes perfect sense, because then you're supposed to whitewash the role of the ISI. But if you're funded by Netflix, there is really no compulsion to go out of your way to give the ISI a clean sheet. I mean, even the ISI would not expect this clean sheet, because they know and would probably be very proud of the role they played, because that's what their job is and that's their role. So why would we go out of our way to give such a clean sheet to the ISI? Now, Arnab made an important point as well. The more you talk about it, those who haven't seen the series, they're all going to go rush and watch the series. The next time you have a problem, just ignore it. The more you talk about it, I'm pretty certain if you're watching at this moment, you're probably either you've already seen it or midway through it, or you would like to go back. And the happiest people with that are Monika Shergill and Anubhav and their bosses at Netflix would be delighted with the kind of free publicity they've got, because people were outraged, and outrage always is good for eyeballs. Anyway, this is where I end this conversation. We were able to unpeel several of the layers around this IC814 Kandahar hijack story. There is no one yes or no answer. I mean, there are lots of questions about the manner in which the series has been made, the intent, the idea. It's also a fact that at that time our intelligence agencies and the officers involved just goofed up. I mean, those who are so close to it because they were in the midst of it obviously won't accept the fact that there was a royal mess up, but the fact that they couldn't take decisions, the fact that they couldn't give clear instructions, the fact that they couldn't keep the plane in Amritsar, the fact that the hijacking happened in the first place, despite us having such a massive station in Kathmandu, happened right under our nose. Those are real challenges that confront the Indian state. Most important is to learn the lessons so that something like this never happens again. That said, I'm slipping into a break. Coming up on the other side, land scam storm explodes in Karnataka. Karnataka Family Trust land under the scanner details coming up on the other side.
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते। बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की, कुछ बातें दूर से हो जाती हैं और कुछ नजदीक आके। दोस्त से बात करो जब दिल घबराए या जब दिल धूम मचाए। ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है, सोमवार हो या रविवार हो या कोई त्योहार हो, क्योंकि हमारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त भगवान ही तो है। मंगलती, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
Scam heat on the Congress government in Karnataka is mounting. The BJP has now alleged that 19 acres of land was given for free to Mallikarjun Kharge's family trust in 2014. The new charges have sparked a fresh political row. This even as the Karnataka governor has sought to report another 5-acre land in Bengaluru that was allocated to the Kharge family trust.
The The storm over Muda scam is still raging. And here comes more trouble for the Siddaramaiah government in Karnataka. The opposition Bharatiya Janata Party has released a set of documents to claim that a trust run by Congress Party National President Mallikarjun Kharge's family was given 19 acres of government land in Kalburgi for free. The opposition party alleges that in 2017, 19 acres of government land was given free of cost to International Institute of Pali, Sanskrit and Comparative Philosophy in Kalburgi, run by the Siddhartha Vihara Trust, managed by the Kharge family. The BJP claims that this land was leased to the trust for a 30-year period. Priyank Kharge was a minister in the state government when the land allotment took place, claims the BJP.
वहाँ इंस्टीट्यूशन कुछ बना ही नहीं ऐसा कहा जा रहा है. कोई पाली और संस्कृत की भाषा के लिए कुछ नहीं किया गया है और वो 19 एकड़ जमीन जो है उनको अपने ट्रस्ट में लेकर के उन्होंने इस परिवार ने उस पर कब्जा कर लिया है.
The first land scam charge against the Kharge family came last month when the BJP said a family-run trust had been allocated 5 acres of land meant for civic amenities under the SC quota near Bengaluru.
Mr. Lahar Singh is now he's experiencing political banishment from top, I think. So what started as a 10-point allegation, today there are no allegations. What happened? He's come up with a new one. What will happen to it in one day? And why only he is speaking and one other MLC is speaking? Why leader of opposition is not speaking?
The Congress defended the land allotment, saying there is no illegality.
Governor has issued the letter to the Chief Secretary. Chief Secretary will give a appropriate, detailed report.
Okay. How do you see the RTA reply which shows that the sanction against Indian leaders has been disposed of, but when it comes to Congress...
I have not gone through it. I don't want to comment. I never comment which I have not known or seen.
The BJP has demanded a probe over allocation of government land to Kharge family-run trust.
Our leaders, Mr. Narayan Swamy, opposition leader, and Lahar Singh also commented on that. We support that because they are given a document, every document. They are not just allegation. Naturally, they have to investigate. That is the demand of the party.
Karnataka Governor Thawarchand Gehlot has sought an explanation from the Chief Secretary over allegations surrounding the allotment of civic amenity plot in Bengaluru to the Kharge Family Trust. Meanwhile, after the governor granted sanction for prosecution against Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in the Muda scam, the state government has suspended the Mysore Urban Development Authority Commissioner Dinesh Kumar and ordered an inquiry against him.
Urban Development Department is commission is appointed. ಅವರು ಏನು ವರದಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ನಟೇಶರು ಮಾಡಲಿ ದಿನೇಶ್ನವರು ಮಾಡಲಿ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬ ಮಾಡಲಿ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ರಮ ತೆಗೆದು.
The BJP has accused that the Kharge family is trying to misuse Congress in the state and getting all kind of privileges from the government. Whereas the Kharge family has hit out at BJP stating that they are misusing Raj Bhavan, as well as they have also justified that the property which has been allocated to them in Kalburgi is still a government property. With you, Shivamurthy Sagairaj reporting for India Today, Bengaluru.
This is where I wrap up the news track tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here, goodbye, good night.
Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Anti-rape bill passed in West Bengal Assembly aims at quick probe and enhanced punishment. Politics over RSS remarks on caste census. Congress says, who is RSS to permit caste census? Encounter between security personnel and Naxalites in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada, 9 Naxalites killed. Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 36 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 25 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 27 and minimum 21 degrees.
Presented by JK Tyre, Desh Ka Tyre. Co-presented by New Seltos with Kia Connect. Tech is now badass.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination news. Newsmakers' talking points, our big talking point. As the West Bengal government introduces an anti-rape law, is death penalty really a deterrent in rape cases? Are police and judicial reforms the real solution? We'll also be going to Manipur, where drones are being used in the conflict, and ask the question, is it spiraling out of control? But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. Anti-rape Aparajita bill passed in the West Bengal Assembly seeks death penalty for rapists if victim dies. The BJP supports the bill even as Mamata Banerjee accuses the Prime Minister and Home Minister of failing to protect women. BJP now says Mamata is simply playing to the gallery to cover her failings. Ahead of elections in Haryana next month, Congress and Aam Aadmi Party attempt to work out an alliance. Seat-sharing talks to begin soon. Sources say Aam Aadmi Party demanding 10 seats. Congress likely to settle for 5. Amidst public outrage, Netflix now adds disclaimer to its IC-814 series to include the real hijacker's name. This after the Netflix content head meets with the INB ministry in Delhi. Violence reignites in Manipur. 2 drone attacks leave at least 2 dead. The Biren Singh government pins the blame on Kuki Zo militants. High-level state panel formed for probe. Heavy rains leave a trail of destruction in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Death toll crosses 30 in the 2 states. Lakhs affected. Rescue operations underway. A Kharge family trusts land under scanner in Karnataka. Governor seeks a report. BJP claimed 19-acre land in Kalburgi given for free to the Congress chief's family. Congress denies the charge. Another top Kerala actor booked for sexual assault. Nivin Pauli and 5 others accused of drugs and assaulting budding actor at a shoot. Nivin denies the charges. Cow vigilantism allegedly claims 1 young life in Haryana. Teenager Aryan Mishra gunned down by 5 accused of a 25-kilometer car chase. Killers allegedly mistook him for a cattle smuggler. Narendra Modi becomes the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Brunei in 40 years. Prime Minister visits Omar Ali Saifuddin Mosque. Boosting energy ties tops the agenda. But first, our breaking story at the moment. The Congress-Aam Aadmi Party alliance in Haryana now appears to be on the cards. That's the story breaking. The Congress and Aam Aadmi Party have come together once again after the Lok Sabha. The Congress has now set up a panel for seat-sharing talks. Those talks likely to begin tomorrow. Sources saying Aam Aadmi Party wants 10 seats in Haryana, which has 90 seats. Congress is offering 5 to 7. Raghav Chadda and KC Venugopal are likely to meet tomorrow to kickstart the talks. This is an attempt to revive the Congress-AAP alliance. Remember, the two parties fought with each other, fought together in Delhi and Haryana during the Lok Sabha, but were pitted against each other in Punjab. So, will there be an alliance in Haryana? Maushmi Singh has been at the AICC headquarters where that meeting of the Congress is going on for Haryana elections. Maushmi, is it certain that there will be an alliance between the two sides and it's now for the two sides to decide on seat sharing?
Rajdeep, the meeting, the CEC meeting has just finished, and like any other election, both sides are bargaining, the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress. The junior partner always pitches for more. The senior partner would actually settle in for much lesser. So, but one can say that talks are on. A subcommittee has also been made to thrash out within the Congress which seats can be given away. And this time round, like Rahul Gandhi had said in the past, that the Congress, after the India Alliance was formed, will be more accommodative to the partners. Remember, this time round, Rahul Gandhi is the LOP and lot has changed ever since last year when the alliance was formed. So we think that the Congress would be more accommodative, would be more accommodative in the assembly elections. And that's why you see that KC Venugopal and Raghav Chadha meeting could reap dividends.
But I'm told, Maushmi, that the chief ministerial face of the Congress for Haryana, likely chief ministerial face, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, is against an alliance. And would like, ideally, the Congress to fight on its own. So is it a done deal, or is it now for the two sides simply to thrash out their remaining differences?
Rajdeep, you're right there, because the state leadership really thinks they don't need the Aam Aadmi Party. And remember that the Aam Aadmi, the sole candidate in the Lok Sabha elections, Mr. Gupta, lost the elections from Kurukshetra. He was an Aam Aadmi Party candidate, and many say in the Aam Aadmi Party that they didn't really receive enough cooperation from the Congress. And that's why the state leadership, thinks that if you give more leg room and room to maneuver to the Aam Aadmi Party in the state, it could be dangerous in the future. And though we are told that the state leadership could settle in giving away few seats that are one of its weaklings.
Okay, so the few weaklings we are told possibly in Faridabad, 1 seat in Kurukshetra is what sources are saying. Clearly the India Alliance trying to revive itself now after the Lok Sabha results, and Haryana could well be the first test. We've already seen National Conference tying up with the Congress in Jammu and Kashmir, and now a possible tie-up between the AAP and the Congress in Haryana. We'll wait and see how that develops. Moshmi Singh with the very latest. Let's turn from there to our other big story today, where the West Bengal government passed the anti-rape Aparajita bill in the assembly today. The bill, of course, comes against the backdrop of the horrific Kolkata government hospital rape and murder case that has pushed the Mamata Banerjee government on the back foot. The Aparajita bill proposes a maximum punishment of death penalty for rapists or life imprisonment. The BJP, while supporting the bill in the assembly, has questioned the timing of it and questioning whether this is being done simply to deflect from the failure, they say, of the Mamata Banerjee government in handling the fallout of the Kolkata rape and murder. The larger question is this: is death penalty, listen to this carefully, is death penalty a deterrent when it comes to crimes against women? That's the question I'm going to raise tonight. First, take a look at our top political story.
Amid massive outrage and continuing protest over the young Kolkata doctor's rape and murder, Bengal Assembly unanimously passed anti-rape bill brought in by the Mamata Banerjee government. Called Aparajita Woman and Child Bill, provides for the death penalty for rape and sexual offences of convict. The bill also proposed 3-year jail for disclosing victims' identity and vows to establish fast-track courts for rape cases. Calling it historic, Chief Minister Mamata said the bill was a tribute to the 31-year-old trainee doctor who was raped and murdered at RG Kaur Hospital.
যে মেয়েটি নির্যাতিত হয়েছে তার জন্য আমি শোক জ্ঞাপন করছি। যে সমাজে মেয়েরা ভালো থাকে না সে সমাজ কখনো ভালো থাকতে পারে না। প্রধানমন্ত্রী আপনি দেশের লজ্জা।
While tabling the bill, Mamata Banerjee also listed rapes in BJP states, asking Saffron Party to first serve justice to rape victims in states ruled by it.
আজ থেকে 4 বছর আগে 2020-এ এই সেপ্টেম্বর মাসেই হাতরাসের ঘটনা, যেখানে একটি দলিত মেয়েকে গণধর্ষণ করা হয়, বিচার তো পায়নি, সেও বাঁচেনি। বিভিন্ন রাজ্যে চলছে একের পর এক ঘটনা, এটা গ্লোরিফাই করার নয়।
While the BJP backed the bill in assembly, it described it a move to distract mass focus and sought its implementation on the ground.
নতুন কিছু নয়, আন্দোলন থামাও, সরকার বাঁচাও। This is the actual motto, aim and object of the state government.
That the bill as settled in the assembly be passed. As many others of the tribunal, please say aye.
With this bill, Bengal has become the first state to bring in amendments to central laws dealing with offences of rape, gang rape and sexual crimes. With Indrajit Kundu in Kolkata, Bureau Report, India Today.
But is death penalty really a deterrent in rape cases and crimes against women? Police and judicial reforms the real solution? Is the new Bengal law simply playing to the gallery? Is fast-track justice possible without judicial reform? Joining me now, Lalita Kumaramangalam is the former chairperson, National Commission for Women. Satyapal Jain, additional Solicitor General in this government. Dr. Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer, joins me. Rizwan Siddiqui, lawyer at the Mumbai High Court, joins me. Appreciate your joining us. Kiran Bedi, your view. This law says that capital punishment for persons convicted of rape if their actions result in the victim's death or leave her in a vegetative state, stipulates life sentence without parole for those convicted of rape and gang rape. Do you really believe that having these stern laws will change anything on the ground?
They're only strengthening the existing laws, because here is a case where she has been murdered as well. And in this, she's one of the rarest of the rare cases. And if investigated well, with proper evidence, which is beyond reasonable doubt, the court could have given her a death penalty. So with this new law or without this, the new law is talking about death penalty in a gang rape. In a gang rape, that too with a minor. But this case, by the way, there are other states also who pass certain similar other laws which you can be checking. But I would think it's a reinforcement All that was needed was a fast track court. It's expeditious trial, because it's that which is going to be improved, not just the law, because law needs to be executed. So I think what really needed was
you're saying it's not. So you're saying, ma'am, it's not about death penalty being part of the law, because in many states it already many states have implemented similar laws. Death penalty is on the statute books. You're saying what is the real need is fast track courts. Am I correct? It's not about It's not about the certainty. It's about the surety that you get it within a fixed period of time.
Fast track with investigation. Now the investigation with the CBI. The ball is in the court of CBI. How much correct, good evidence has it been collected despite the scene of crime having been contaminated? I think that's the real challenge. Is evidence before the court and a fast track court. That is what is required, which means she should have had a fast track identified court and then make sure that that court is resourced so that it does deliver on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, Lalita Kumaramangalam, your views on this. Is it really a deterrent? After the Nirbhaya case, similar outrage resulted in eventually the rapists and murderers being hanged, but that hasn't really changed anything on the ground. NCRB reports still say a woman is sexually assaulted in this country every 9 minutes.
Yes, Rajdeep, I agree with you. Now, I partly agree with what Mrs. Bedi said, but I think it's not just in the investigation that we fall short. It's also in the fact that the implementation of the investigation is very difficult because we have such poor forensic laboratories even now in most parts of the country. One, and two, the death penalty it's like a cleft stick. Yes, up to an extent, it is a deterrent, but on the other hand, because the knowledge of the law and social media, etc., is so much better nowadays than it was, say, perhaps 20 or 30 years ago, very often victims are killed because the perpetrators feel that then they won't get caught. But the truth here is that the death penalty is as good or as bad as many of the other things that are available, punishments that are available for rapists, including what has been mentioned in the West Bengal bill, where they talk about life imprisonment without parole.
Okay. So
the real truth here is, Rajdeep, that we have two fast-track courts. We need to not just fast-track the process of investigation and justice has to be fast-tracked. And for this, we must have judicial accountability and accountability at various levels of the police, bureaucracy, politicians, etc. Because the police, every time you criticize them, very often turn around and say that, look, what am I to do? My neck is in the hands of these guys. I have to do what my bosses tell me to do. So there has to be a law that covers also these issues and a law.
Okay, I take your point, ma'am. I take your point, Lalita Kumaramangalam. I want to bring in for a moment the additional Solicitor General Satyapal Jain. Satyapal Jain, Maharashtra passed such a law, it's lying with the centre. The centre believes that there is an overlap with the existing provisions of the Indian Penal Code. Andhra Pradesh has passed a law. Now West Bengal does it after a horrific Kolkata rape and murder takes place. Is this simply playing to the gallery? Does this really change? Will this change anything on the ground?
I personally feel that the death penalty will certainly act as a deterrent, and I am in favor of imposing death penalty on such type of people who commit these type of heinous crimes. But let's not forget one thing. Death penalty is the last step in the case of a trial. So you impose death penalty after the complete and full trial of the accused. If it takes 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, then after 4, 5, 6 years, the imposition of death penalty loses its full impact, because by that time things get changed. Therefore, as Mrs. Bedi said, I am in favor of death penalty, but at the same time, I am suggesting two things. Having my experience of about 45 years as a lawyer, number one, I feel now time has come when there should be a national investigating agency like CBI for investigating the crime against the women, including sexual assaults, because otherwise we have seen each party, each state government blaming other. In your state there were more crime, in your state there were more rapes, in my state there were less rapes. let's not leave it to the local police or any other agency. Let there be a national investigating agency.
You're saying specialized. You're saying a specialized investigation. No, no. But why do I? No, no. But Mr. Jain, if I may intervene, why do I need a specialized investigating agency? You have enough. It's not about what is the specialization needed for crimes against women.
Because of the fact that nowadays the type of informations, I will use the word information, that we are getting after Bengal, Nirbhay and all that, these people are adopting measures where it becomes difficult even for the CBI to go and apprehend the people in a simple manner. So these investigations like the NIA, like the CBI, they will be experts who will examine and get the evidence immediately, forthwith, will not permit the police, as the allegation is against West Bengal police, that they helped in destroying the evidence. These types of things can be avoided. Number one. Number two, fast track courts, time bound. But deliver your, take a decision within 2 months, 3 months or 5 months. And one more point which I am suggesting, all these cases, because death penalty goes to High Court and Supreme Court, I think in these such matters, since matter ultimately goes to Supreme Court and High Court takes 4 or 5 years, ultimately it is appreciated by the Supreme Court. Let there be an appeal like the AFT cases, other cases, from the fast track straightway to the Supreme Court, so that within 1-2 years you are able to execute.
Okay, so you're saying maximum 2 years. But look, Rizwan Siddiqui, let's take a look at this Kolkata rape and murder. By all accounts, the DNA matching has been done. If the DNA matching has been done, if the right person has been accused, the right accused has been caught, he deserves a fair trial, but he deserves a fast-track trial. Now, the fact is that won't happen. Even in Nirbhaya, it took more than 7 years before actually those who were caught were eventually hanged. And it's no deterrent. There's another debate whether we should have capital punishment at all. You're mute. You're on mute, Rizwan.
Yes, am I audible now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a very different take to this entire situation. See, there, first and foremost, the first question is that whether a capital punishment would act as a deterrent to a person committing a crime. So let me first address that issue. 99% people who commit these kind of crimes, they are so confident that they will not get caught. So the issue is at the first stage, whenever a person is committing a crime, does he even think remotely of getting caught and getting hanged? The answer is no. So when we talk about acting as a deterrent to a person, to scaring a person who's committing a crime, the issue is that he does not even think in that direction. So that will definitely not act as a deterrent. Now, the second part is that once the person gets caught and there is an entire process of investigation that follows. Now, the investigation, normally what happens in an investigation, the head of the investigation is the law enforcement agency. The law enforcement agencies do their own investigation in the entire way, I mean, in a particular way that they feel is right. The magistrate steps in only at, or the sessions court steps in only at the last minute, once the charge sheet is filed, and then he becomes then he is entitled to look into the investigation report filed under Section 173 of the earlier Act. And then the questions are raised and then the trial starts. So the trial which starts, that itself takes a very, very long time.
How long? Can you tell my viewers, how long do you believe, even in a Kolkata rape and murder case, where, as I said, it appears that the accused the correct person has been apprehended, how long will it take?
See, according to me, unless and until it is not really pushed, it may take, in an ordinary circumstances, it may take about 5 to 7 years. But in a special case, it may still take about a year, 2 years, or 3 years also. And then comes an appeal and then further appeals. And that is exactly what my learned co-panelists also addressed those issues, that the trial, when it reaches the final stage up to the Supreme Court, takes a lot of time. And the issue is the process cannot be looked at in a very isolated manner. It has to be looked at, firstly, whether it will act as a deterrent. Secondly, whether the trial will be, the trial will be effectively, carried out, and basically the punishment, which is the final step of a trial. The punishment would be the final step of a trial.
So you're saying
to reach that final stage
will take 5 to 7 years, which you're saying cannot be short-circuited. Can it be short-circuited by fast-track courts?
Yes, it can be. See, I'll tell you what. The magistrates And magistrates are not, called as judges. Magistrates are called as judicial officers. The judges start from the sessions court. So what I'm trying to say is that the judges and the magistrates have all the powers within them to look into these kind of issues, to even address issues, to even put questions, to look into the investigation, and they cannot be, held absolutely unaccountable in a situation like this.
Yeah, but we've seen in these cases, look at the burden on the courts. Look at the average number of cases that a magistrate or a judge is handling. You'll need many more courts, you'll need many more judges, you'll need many more magistrates, which is where Kiran Bedi...
We have a special court.
Yeah, but you see,
we
even...
have a special court.
Yeah, but we've seen even after Nirbhaya, some states have set up fast-track courts, some have not. Even Bengal has been behind the curve when it comes to fast-track courts, and judicial administration becomes a big issue. So, Kiran Bedi, at every stage, we've been talking in the past of police reform. At the end of the day, police reform, judicial reform are really the answer. As of now, simply saying, we'll give the death penalty is not going to be a deterrent, as Rizwan says.
Rajdeep, the new laws which have come in force under the Criminal Procedure Code, which was the name, has stopped limited adjournments. It's got very good provisions. Limited adjournments, number one. If the judge is not going to be present, he or she has to leave a replacement. Third, lot of audiovisual, lot of technology use, lot of expert on not oral but give written statements. If you would follow the new laws, and if the learned advocates would use that, you will have an expeditious trial. There is no chutti for a magistrate. He or she has to leave a replacement. Adjournments is limited. I think if we would do that, they will lead to an expeditious trial. Problem is, we are not picking it up.
No, but even in the Aparajita bill, the police are supposed to complete the investigation in 21 days. How will they do it? Is it feasible?
Why not? That is exactly what she, as a home minister, has to ensure that the police delivers. The police delivers time-bound investigation, and the CBI in this case, CBI has done the investigation and they will take it to trial. But in the new trial, we have the benefit of no judgments, no absence, no chuttis of the magistrate. She or he has to leave a replacement. Similarly, rather than oral, produce evidence of experts on audiovisuals, the use of technology. If we follow those methods, we will have an expeditious trial. But the ball is in the court of the respective home ministers of state. How do they leave investigation to professionalism? Do not interfere. Do not interfere later on. I think that's the key.
Okay. Yes, Rizwan, you wanted to make a quick point.
Yeah. So there have been laws even earlier, like for example, domestic violence cases where women are concerned. Laws over there are also very, very specific. In a check bouncing case, the trial has to be, finished in 6 months' time. So we've had these laws since donkey's years where everything is supposed to be done in a time-bound manner, but still it does not happen. And the question here is whether the judge is there or not there. The problem is that the next date given is so long. Normally, the dates that we get in cases like this is after 3 months, 3.5 months, 4 months. So the issue is not about what is the process, how effective is the process as a whole. So we've had these kind of cases and we've had these kind of laws even earlier.
Right. Okay. So you're saying it's not about the law, it's also then about political will, Lalita Kumaramangalam. Somewhere, it is about showing that political will that, look, we are going to implement these laws to the fullest. It's all very well because the Kolkata rape and murder resulted in outrage, people are waking up. But it didn't need a rape and murder like this to wake up. It didn't need Nirbhaya to wake up. That's the problem. The system wakes up after. And then once the outrage is over, we go back to normal.
I agree totally with you there, Rajdeep, regardless of the state, regardless of the party, etc. It is in the implementation that we have really, just not been good enough. And this includes, judicial reforms is fine, so is police reforms. But in both these, we need to also have accountability built into these laws. Whether it's the politician, whether it's the policeman, whether it's the judiciary, whether it's some rich guy who's throwing his money around, whatever, whether it's a big company, I don't care, political party, unless accountability is built into these reforms, just saying that it must be done in 20 days or 50 days, I think it's unfair to the system. It's the You know.
So you're
police,
saying the law will have to have some. You're saying the law will have to have a provision for accountability. It's not just enough to have a law, but failure to uphold the law should result in.
Investigating, there must be accountability.
Okay.
For those who are sitting in courts, there must be accountability. It's nice to set deadlines, but are those deadlines met? As you yourself pointed out, it took over 8 years for Nirbhaya's rapists, and then another 2 years for them to be hanged.
You know that.
Appeal after appeal, date after date.
You know, Satyapal Jain, therefore, in conclusion, do you see any change really taking place? I want an honest answer. As someone who is an additional Solicitor General of the country, do you really see changes in the air, or this is all done for optics? It's all very nice optics, but the reality on the ground is that the system is simply unable to respond quickly enough.
You see, it's a fact that up to now, for the last few years, the system was not up to the mark. I am not saying that at the moment everything has been achieved, but after the introduction of the new laws, now many things have been simplified and trials will be expedited. Secondly, as the Chief Justice of India only 2-3 days back in a conference said that there is a basic need for reforms at the basic judiciary, at the trial court level. For example, now people are talking about the delay, adjournments and all that. Why? A judge is having 100 cases a day. Earlier, there was a problem in presentation, filing of challan, etc., recording of evidence. Now the new laws prescribe that you can record the evidence through VC. VCs are being provided in all the courts, in all the jails and all that. I think the procedure should be expedited. It is being expedited, and now things will certainly improve. The only thing is that in case there is a willpower and judicial reforms, have more judges, give them more facilities, give them more space, give them more staff, so that they can record the evidence, they can record the statements of the accused, they have not to refer it to somebody else. With this awareness coming, and after the remarks of the Honorable Chief Justice of India 2 days back, I am very hopeful coming days things will see lot of improvement.
You know, there's a lot of talk, sir, with due regard, sir. Sir, with due regard, I'm sorry to be cynical, there's a lot of talk, whether it's on personal liberty, whether it's on bail should be the rule, jail is the exception, but on the ground, until we see... Yes, Ms. Bedi, you want a final point?
Yes, Rajdeep, I think we come back to become victim-centric. At the moment, our whole system is more towards accused-centric. I think the day we all processes become victim-centric, you will see the change. Prosecution victim-centric. Police victim-centric, these judgments victim-centric. You victim must get the rights back. So far, the victim has been a victim, actually. And everything has been more accused-centric. Let's drive the balance back.
Okay, let me leave it there. I appreciate my guests joining us. Clearly, this has triggered off a debate. The very fact that there is so much of talk now at the moment on rape cases and how to deal with them is perhaps a positive sign. Out of that, hopefully, something will emerge that acts as an effective deterrent. In my view, nothing better than judicial and police reform first, not necessarily having the death penalty. Let me move from there to my other big story now. This is a story that troubles me a lot because across news channels, Manipur has fallen off the map. And the truth of the matter is that Manipur for the last 16 months has been torn apart by ethnic conflict. And now it's on the boil once again. Drone attacks, yes, drone attacks for 2 consecutive days in Imphal West have left 2 people dead and several injured. The Manipur government is putting the blame on the Kuki militants. A Manipur MLA, the son-in-law of the Chief Minister, has gone on record to say that the central forces should be withdrawn. Now think about it. In any other part of the country, if there were drone attacks, it would be seen as an attack on India as well as a breakdown of law and order. Will Manipur limp back to normalcy? Take a look at our other special report.
2 improvised explosive devices dropped from quadcopters in Manipur has set a cat among pigeons in the strike-torn state. In the first instance on Sunday, a drone was used to drop explosives, a suspected grenade on unarmed villagers in the Kotruk village. The Manipur government issued a statement blaming Kuki militants saying, and I quote, The state government has learned about the unfortunate incident of attack on unarmed Kotruk villagers using drone, bombs and many sophisticated weapons on 1st September 2024, reportedly by Kuki militants, causing deaths of 2 persons, including 1 woman, and injuries to many. The state government believes that drone terror may put a spanner in their works to bring about normalcy in the state.
We have spoken to everybody from here to Delhi और वहाँ दिल्ली में भी NSG से भी हम लोगों ने बात किया है, DG NSG से बात किया है, उनकी टीम से बात किया है, प्लस और भी एक्सपर्ट्स आ रहे हैं. हम लोगों ने कमेटी भी एक बनाई है कि ये ड्रोन के बारे में पूरा ये पढ़ने के लिए एंड समथिंग टू डू काउंटर करने के लिए उसको कैसे हम लोग आगे ये करें. आसाम राइफल एक कमेटी तो बना दी गई बट उसके बाद भी कुछ एक्सपर्ट्स को भी हम लोग बुला रहे हैं और जल्दी से जल्दी हम लोग कुछ इसका उपाय ढूंढेंगे.
The state government dispatched teams not only to provide security to villagers but also ordered a cordon and search operation. Even as cordon and search operations were underway, there were reports of a second drone terror strike. The second attack left a 23-year-old woman and 2 others injured in the Imphal West district.
हम लोग सोया नहीं था उस समय 3 बम फटा यहाँ पे 3 बम फटा और 1-2 बम जो है कम से कम मेरे ख्याल से 3 बम जो है यहाँ पे बिना फटे यहाँ पे पड़ा है और एक बम तो जो नहीं फटा है और हमने आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया.
Suspected militants are also believed to have opened fire from nearby hilltops at the villages. The state government in a statement said immediate action was being taken to control the situation and efforts were on to punish those who were involved in the drone terror attacks. Manipur police seized the use of drones to drop grenades and improvised explosive devices as a major escalation in the ongoing conflict. Analysts say drones have been used in the conflict by both sides to keep an eye on the adversaries and plan strategies, including counteroffensive, but this is the first instance of drones being weaponized in the conflict. Drones have been used to drop bombs in hybrid conflict and even in war like Russia, Ukraine, and Azerbaijan and Armenia. Bureau Report, India Today.
And joining me now, special guest, Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy, former GOC 16 Corps. Pradeep Fanjubam is Manipur's distinguished journalist, former editor of the Imphal Free Press, joins me. And P. Haukip, Kuki BJP MLA, is also with us. I want to get reactions from each of you. First, Lieutenant General Roy, your reactions at the very outset. Drone attacks allegedly by Kuki militant organizations. Does this mark an escalation in a conflict that's gone on for more than 16 months? How worrying is this?
If we talk only in terms of an assessment that any disturbances in the border state which go on for as long as now a year and a half, if not today, then definitely in times to come, this likelihood may be there.
Right. Pradeep Fanjubam, how seriously do you see it on the ground there in Imphal? Do you see this as an escalation of the conflict once again? How worrying is it?
I think it's going to be an escalating factor in the sense that it's used from one side, the other side is also going to acquire those weapons, and then it's going to escalate unless the state steps in and then it takes control. And when I say the state, it doesn't mean only the state of Manipur, but also the Indian state as such, and then control the situation that the idea of power must be with the state. Once that is made known, then I think it will be the escalation will be stopped. But right now, I think if you leave it to the conflict parties alone, I think it's going to escalate. Both sides will start acquiring those weapons, and then it's going to get worse.
So you believe that the security forces have to actually get strengthened now, because you've got the Chief Minister's son-in-law, Imo Singh, who's a BJP MLA, writing to the Home Minister saying, withdraw the central forces, we will handle this. You believe that there needs to be more security, not less?
I think the MLA was acting hastily, that he probably was agitated at what is happening. But I think what should happen is for the forces to be activated so that both sides are controlled. And also, since it's a drone warfare, I think they have to acquire the right kind of jammers, so that they will be disabled as they launch these weapons. And that, I think, should be the preparation, that you disable these kind of weapons so that it is not used. And of course, there has to be the state showing its power, that if you have guns, we have bigger guns. That kind of thing should be the message to all combatants.
You know, you're making an important point. The state needs to sort of reassert its authority there in Manipur. Mr. Haukip, you've been a critic of the state government. I know you're with the BJP, but you've been a critic of the way Biren Singh's government has handled it. Now, the ball is on the other foot. They are saying Kuki militants are the ones who've got empowered, who are using these drone attacks to spread terror, to target citizens. Your response?
Rajdeep, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Before we talk about drones being used by any party to the conflict, why don't you talk about the Chief Minister authorizing the use of 51-inch mortars against Kuki volunteers who are forced to protect their villages post the 3rd of May 2023, where under his watch, ethnic cleansing on the Kuki people have been recklessly and wantonly carried out, and all residents of Kukis from Imphal have been cleansed. Why don't we talk about the leaked tapes, wherein the Chief Minister, in his own voice, I know his tone and tenor, he cannot deny this, has boasted to his constituents that despite the Union Home Minister instructing him not to use bombs, he had instructed, after the Union Home Minister had left, he had instructed the commandos.
So are you saying these drone attacks therefore are a reaction? Are you saying that we are caught in this cycle of violence? But that's terrible. Either way, nobody is talking the language of peace. I mean, you are attacking your own chief minister. He in turn is now blaming Kuki organizations. No one is talking the language of peace, Mr. Haukip.
Rajdeep, the language of peace can begin when there is a sense of justice that begins to take roots. When the state machinery and the state forces are siding with a particular community in an ethnic flare-up like this and turning it into ethnic persecution and ethnic cleansing, where is justice? And how can we talk about peace without justice, without a sense of justice?
Okay, let me just take that to Pradeep Panjubam. Pradeep, you're hearing from a Kuki MLA saying you can't have peace without justice. Now, in the process of no peace, you've got possibly armed militias on all sides in these kind of no-hold-barred conflict. Do you see this peace with justice really echoing among the people?
I think there would be a section of the people on both sides who want peace, and there are also warmongers who want the war to carry on, the pot to keep boiling, so that they get the benefit of it. The conflict also has vested interests who get benefit. No, I can even say many politicians would be, because they can take mileage out of it. They get there to win their next elections. But what is ultimately necessary is peace, and for all to share this idea of victimhood and come forward and then strike that peace deal, which should be a consensual kind of an arrangement where everybody is happy, where there's a part of everybody in that settlement.
Okay, let me bring in General Roy again. General, as I said earlier, now you've got the Manipur Chief Minister's son-in-law, Imo Singh, an MLA, saying that the central forces should be withdrawn. Do you think in a moment like this, it's a wise thing to do? Can state forces handle what's happening in Manipur? Surely you need more forces actually at the moment to establish complete control in Manipur.
This is very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate that at a time when we have been using the army and Assam Rifle under the operational command of the army to control the escalating situations of insurgency in the border states in the northeast for the last about, I would say, nearly 75 years, ever since our independence. How would it be that state force will be able to control such escalation and not allow the central forces to work in these places? I know one thing that particularly Imphal has been out of Armed Forces Special Power Act for a long time, and one of the reasons why it is also taken as a safe zone for many of the militants and the terrorists, for this reason that it is outside zone of Armed Forces Special Power Act. So I absolutely do not subscribe to this view that the entire situation can be handed over to a state force or the state police and not allow the sort of control by the central security agencies.
Mr. Haukib, you wanted to make a point there. Is there a need for more forces on the ground?
Rasdeep, I think it's not so much about the number of forces deployed. It is about a political direction and political determination. It lacks political direction. The central forces are here just to maintain the buffer zones. They should be empowered to recover the 5,000 plus arms that have been gifted away to the Arambai Tengol, the Meitei militia. Until and unless those arms are recovered, talking about peace is an illusion.
No, but Mr. Haukib, surely leaders like you should also be questioning the manner in which Kuki militants are now being accused of trying to take advantage of the situation in the state. So while we can blame Meitei militants, we can blame the state government, everyone has a responsibility. I come back to it. No one is talking the language of real peace.
I agree with you, Rasdeep, but where is the question of the Kuki volunteers trying to take advantage of anything? They're protecting villages on the fringes, and attacks have been coming from the other side always. Let me give you an example. The recent incident at Kotru was a spin-off from an ambush laid by armed militia of the Arambai Tengol on Kuki village volunteers who were protecting the only route connecting Kangkokpi and Lamka.
No, but is it possible to disarm all these militias? Shouldn't that be the first step, that all militias should be disarmed?
I agree with you completely, but as long as the 5,000 plus arms of the state forces that have been gifted to Arambai Tengol have been recovered, there is no chance of peace in Manipur.
Okay, I want to give a final word to you, Pradeep Panjumam. Do you see peace at all now in the near future? If you were to give one suggestion to the center, what would it be?
I think it is for the state. I'm talking about Indian state as such to take charge. Right now, what's happening is you're living it up to those people fighting, and this will escalate. One side arms, the other side will also arm, and that is what is happening. The arms looting that happened in that period of time happened on both sides, except that the armories are bigger in Imphal, so that the number of arms looted there in Imphal is much more.
Right.
The valley is much more, but it also happened in the hills. So the thing is for the state to actually assert its authority, say that nobody will be allowed to do this.
So you're actually calling in for more forces. You need more forces. You need them to be stationed in a manner that they can assert.
Not just in numbers, but in action. That you say you have to assert that authority, say that nobody is allowed to do this.
Right.
Anybody who breaks the law will be punished. That kind of message should come about loudly and with determination. Yeah.
Okay, let me leave it there. I appreciate my guest joining us. As I said, think about this. If this was happening in any other part of the country, there would be blazing headlines, breaking news. But this is Manipur. And I promise you one thing, here on the news today, we will continue to focus on Manipur. It is an integral part of a country called India. Think about it. Let's turn to another part of the country that finds itself falling off the map because of heavy rains. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana are grappling with severe flooding following a weekend of unprecedented rainfall. With rising death tolls and widespread devastation, both states are mobilizing resources to tackle the crisis. What's happening on the ground? It's our ground report tonight.
The Telugu states facing nature's wrath. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana are drowning in deluge after a weekend of record rainfall. The death toll has crossed 30 in the two states as several districts, days on, remain underwater. In Andhra Pradesh alone, over 19 deaths have been reported as over 4.5 lakh people have been affected in the state. Drones are being used by the administration to ensure that food and other supplies reach locals who are unable to leave their homes.
Over the last 24 to 48 hours, and the situation here at Singhnagar continues to be the same. Several people are left stranded in and across various locations there. People who aren't even able to get down from their houses as waters are wading in deep into all of these colonies. Roughly over 1,000 families have been stranded here in Singhnagar in and around areas.
Andhra Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu has been touring through parts of Vijayawada, the city currently underwater, and Chief Minister Naidu was seen taking stock of the situation, travelling in boats and earth movers.
Everything is positioned. We are working very hard. Now I instructed all my officers to be in the field. We have supplied enough food and transportation. Everything is available now. There is no excuse for anybody to reach the last person.
Meanwhile, in Telangana, the worst affected district is Khammam, as villages remain submerged days on.
We are right now in Danvaigudam colony of Khammam district, where several houses are still inundated in water. For the past 2 days, people here have been shifted to rehab centers, and several of them are still in the houses waiting for relief and help from the authorities. Now here, as you see, 3 to 4 feet of water in each house, where it is difficult for anybody to stay in these kind of houses.
Chief Minister Revant Reddy visited flood-affected Mahbubabad today and promised all help to the displaced. He also lashed out at KTR as the political blame game continues.
అమెరికాలో జల్సాలలో మునిగి తేలుతున్నాయని కూడా ట్విట్టర్లో మా ప్రభుత్వాల మీద మంత్రుల మీద దాడి చేస్తున్నాడు. నిజంగానే నీకు కన్సర్న్ ఉంటే 4 రోజుల నుంచి ప్రతిపక్ష నాయకుడు ఒక పలుకు కూడా పలకలే, బయట కూడా కనిపిస్తలేడు. ఆయన ఎక్కడ ఉన్నాడో తెలియదు. ఆయన పుత్రుడు అమెరికాలో జల్సాలు చేసుకుంటూ ఆయన ప్రభుత్వం మీద బురద జల్లే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నాడు.
The NDRF and SDRF are now working round the clock in the worst affected districts of Andhra and Telangana to ensure every citizen gets the necessary help.
अभी वर्तमान में 26 टीमें हमारी NDRF की तैनात हैं. कुछ टीमें बाहर से भेजी गई हैं बाई रोड, और हमारी 12 टीमें एयरलिफ्ट भी की गई हैं. बिल्कुल अभी तक कम से कम 5,000 लोगों को रेस्क्यू किया गया है, और रिलीफ ऑपरेशंस बहुत बड़े पैमाने पर चलाया जा रहा है. खासकर रिलीफ मटेरियल, खाने की सामग्री लोगों तक पहुंचाई जा रही है. कल से जो स्थिति है वो बेहतर हुई है.
With Apurva Jayachandran in Andhra's Vijayawada and Abdul Bashir in Telangana's Khammam, Bureau Report, India Today.
Thoughts and prayers as always with the people of Telangana and Andhra today. Let's take a break. When we return, we are turning to our Get Real India story. And it's another shocker. A teenager gunned down in Faridabad. The killers allegedly mistook him for a cattle smuggler. We'll tell you more on the other side. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
एक दोस्त है जिससे बात किए बिना हम रह नहीं सकते. बातें घंटों की हों या कुछ सेकंड्स की. कुछ बातें दूर से हो जाती हैं और कुछ नजदीक आके. दोस्त से बात करो जब दिल घबराए या जब दिल धूम मचाए. ये दोस्त हमेशा हमारी बात सुनता है सोमवार हो या रविवार हो या कोई त्योहार हो, क्योंकि हमारा सबसे अच्छा दोस्त भगवान ही तो है। मंगल दी, दिल से करो बात भगवान के साथ।
Welcome back. Let's turn to tonight's Get Real India story, and it comes from Haryana's Faridabad, where a class 12 student named Aryan Mishra was allegedly shot dead by a group of cow vigilantes who chased him, thinking he was a cattle smuggler. 5 men have been arrested in this case. Take a look at tonight's Get Real India story.
Aryan Mishra, a class 12 student, was shot dead in an alleged case of misidentification near Faridabad. The suspects allegedly mistook Aryan and his friends for cattle smugglers. On August 24th night, Aryan had gone for an outing with his friends, Harshit, Shanky, Harshit's mother and sister. At Bhadkal, some people in a Suzuki Swift directed them to stop. As Shanky was involved in a fight recently, Harshit sped away in his Duster SUV, fearing the men in Swift were out to target him. Then began a chase that covered 25 kilometers, during which the men in Swift allegedly fired at them. Near Palwal, one bullet hit Aryan in the neck. Harshit stopped the car. They allege the attacker walked down to their SUV and fired another bullet, this time hitting Aryan on the chest. When it became clear they had shot the wrong man, the killers left the spot. The police cracked the case 5 days after the murder. One critical piece that helped the police was the CCTV footage from the Palwal toll plaza that caught Harshit's Duster speeding across the barricade without stopping.
घटना के 5 दिन के बाद क्राइम ब्रांच 30 की टीम ने 5 आरोपियों को गिरफ्तार किया, जिनका एक का नाम अनिल है, दूसरे का नाम कृष्ण है, एक का नाम वरुण है तथा जो 2 अन्य आरोपी हैं उनका नाम आदेश और सौरव है.
Aryan's father claims the alleged shooter Anil Kaushik showed no remorse when he confronted him.
उनने यही बोला है मेरे से, आया हाथ जोड़ के खड़ा हुआ और बोला भाई गलती से मेरे से गोली लग गई है. अनिल कौशिक ने बोला ये बात. वजह क्या बताई? बोला गऊ कसकर समझ के मैं गोली चला रहा था. उनसे ने पूछा कि 30 किलोमीटर तक गोली चली और मेरे बेटे को सिर्फ गोली क्यों लगी? गाड़ी में कहीं लगी और गाड़ी में गोली कहीं नहीं लगी. उसके बाद एक गोली जब लग गई उसके सिर पे या हाथ में लग गई तो दूसरी गोली अंदर जाके क्यों मारी गई?
The police say the probe so far hasn't revealed any link between the alleged killers and Aryan. They say further probe is needed to find if the shooters targeted Aryan, mistaking him for cattle smugglers. With Himanshu Mishra, Bureau Report, India Today.
Tragic and troubling. Let's leave you though with what some would say is a good news today story. The brutal rape and murder of the 31-year-old trainee doctor at the RG Kar Hospital in Kolkata has sent chills down the spine of every woman, especially those working in the healthcare sector. But now, some hospitals are getting their act together. The Fortis Hospital in Delhi, for example, has teamed up with the Parivartan cell of the Delhi police to give its female staff martial art training so they can defend themselves in any situation. Tonight, I leave you with a good news story from our correspondent Ashutosh. You stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Female health workers at Fortis Hospital in Delhi are getting lessons in self-defense. After the brutal rape and murder of 31-year-old trainee Dr. Abhaya at the RG Kaur Hospital, the Fortis management teamed up with the Parivartan Cell of Delhi Police to give its female staff martial arts training. These women are being taught techniques like punches, elbow strikes, blocking, eye attacks and methods to escape from hair and hand grips.
मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है कि हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने ये स्टेप उठाया है हम सबके लिए, हमारी सेफ्टी के लिए। तो ये बहुत जरूरी है। इवन मेरे भी 2 बेटियां हैं, मैं भी चाहूंगी, अब मेरे को यहाँ पे जब मैं आई हूँ तो मुझे लग रहा है हाँ मेरे बच्चों को भी सीखना चाहिए।
मेरी सरकार से ये रिक्वेस्ट अनुरोध है कि जिस तरीके से ट्रेनिंग हमें मिल रही है ये हर अस्पताल में, चाहे सरकारी हो, प्राइवेट हो, छोटा हॉस्पिटल हो, 20 बेड का हॉस्पिटल हो, ये ट्रेनिंग हफ्ते में या महीने में जरूर हमारे महिलाओं को उपलब्ध कराई जाए और ये कंपलसरी हो।
This training also covers the effective use of everyday items as improvised weapons to defend themselves in any situation.
हमें बाहर जाने से डर लगता है, उस डर को निकालने के लिए हमें स्ट्रॉन्ग बनना पड़ेगा। स्ट्रॉन्ग बनने के लिए हमें अपने आप को पहले स्ट्रॉन्ग बनाना पड़ेगा, उसके लिए हमें सेल्फ डिफेंस सीखना बहुत जरूरी है। बाय चांस ऐसी कोई घटना घट जाती है तुरंत, जिसको हम न देख सकते न सोच सकते, 1-2 पंच यूज करो, चाहे कुछ भी यूज करके वहाँ से भागने की कोशिश करो।
Self-defense training is one of the steps that can be taken to improve safety of women. With Ashutosh Mishra, Bureau Report, India Today.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hi, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Anti-rape bill passed in West Bengal Assembly aims at quick probe and enhanced punishment. Politics over RSS remarks on caste census, Congress says, who is RSS to permit caste census? Encounter between security personnel and Naxalites in Chhattisgarh's Dantewada, 9 Naxalites killed.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
गिरफ्तारी होना ही था और बंगाल के लोगों की बहुत कांक्षित गिरफ्तारी था। बंगाल के लोग चाह रहे थे कि गिरफ्तारी हो और जैसे कि मैंने आशंका जताई थी कि ड्यू टू द लैक ऑफ एविडेंस, साक्ष्य नहीं होने के कारण खून और रेप के मामले में डॉक्टर संदीप घोष को कितना सीबीआई गिरफ्तार कर पाएगी या कितना लपेट में ले पाएगी, ये थोड़ा डाउटफुल था मेरे लिए। लेकिन करप्शन के केस में संदीप घोष अंदर जाएंगे, पहले से ही मैंने भविष्यवाणी की थी।
So finally it has been proved once again that when human being can't give you justice, Almighty comes on the earth to give you justice. All these corruptions for which Sandeep Ghosh has been arrested today were unearthed by me when I was the RKS chairman since 27th February 2023. I detected all these irregularities. I started taking steps. I informed the concerned authorities of the respective section. I informed our Principal Secretary Health. I submitted full set of documents. It was not given to a single media at that point of time. But unfortunately, no step was taken at that point of time.
New Seltos with Kia Connect. Tech is now badass.
Co-powered by
Eternally remembered, honored, loved with Love Kalyan Jewelers. Veka, India's largest selling UPVC window.
Dangerous escalation in Manipur. 2 drone attacks in 2 days. Drones drop explosives on Manipur village. Homes targeted, villagers attacked. Chief Minister N. Biren Singh promises action. Manipur drone terror is our top focus on India First.
Hello and welcome. You're watching India First. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Manipur is facing a new and an alarming threat as improvised explosive devices and grenades were dropped from drones in 2 recent attacks. The Manipur government has condemned these attacks, attributing them to suspected Kuki militants and warning of severe consequences. Here's a detailed report on the unfolding situation.
2 improvised explosive devices dropped from quadcopters in Manipur has set a cat among pigeons in the strike-torn state. In the first instance on Sunday, a drone was used to drop explosives, a suspected grenade on unarmed villagers in the Kotrug village. The Manipur government issued a statement blaming Kuki militants saying, and I quote, "The state government has learned about the unfortunate incident of attack on unarmed Kotrug villagers using drone, bombs and many sophisticated weapons on 1st September 2024, reportedly by Kuki militants, causing deaths of 2 persons, including 1 woman, and injuries to many." The state government believes that drone terror may put a spanner in their works to bring about normalcy in the state.
We have spoken to everybody from here to Delhi और वहाँ दिल्ली में भी NSG से भी हम लोगों ने बात किया है, DG NSG से बात किया है, उनकी टीम से बात किया है, प्लस और भी एक्सपर्ट्स आ रहे हैं. हम लोगों ने कमिटी भी एक बनाई है कि ये ड्रोन के बारे में पूरा ये पढ़ने के लिए एंड समथिंग टू डू काउंटर करने के लिए उसको कैसे हम लोग आगे ये करें. आसाम राइफल एक कमेटी तो बना दी गई है बट उसके बाद भी कुछ एक्सपर्ट्स को भी हम लोग बुला रहे हैं और जल्दी से जल्दी हम लोग कुछ इसका उपाय ढूंढेंगे.
The state government dispatched teams not only to provide security to villagers but also ordered a cordon and search operation. Even as cordon and search operations were underway, there were reports of a second drone terror strike. The second attack left a 23-year-old woman and 2 others injured in the Imphal West district.
हम लोग सोया नहीं था उस समय 3 बम फटा यहाँ पे 3 बम फटा और 1-2 बम जो है कम से कम मेरे ख्याल से 3 बम जो है यहाँ पे बिना फटे यहाँ पे पड़ा है और एक बम तो जो नहीं फटा है और हमने आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया.
Suspected militants are also believed to have opened fire from nearby hilltops at the villages. The state government in a statement said immediate action was being taken to control the situation and efforts were on to punish those who were involved in the drone terror attacks. Manipur police seized the use of drones to drop grenades and improvised explosive devices as a major escalation in the ongoing conflict. Analysts say drones have been used in the conflict by both sides to keep an eye on the adversaries and plan strategies, including counteroffensive, but this is the first instance of drones being weaponized in the conflict. Drones have been used to drop bombs in hybrid conflict and even in war like Russia, Ukraine, and Azerbaijan and Armenia. Bureau Report, India Today.
The use of drones to drop grenades and improvised explosive devices marks a major escalation in the situation in Manipur. The Director General of Police has gone on record to say that the assistance of the National Security Guard and Assam Rifles is being sought for putting effective countermeasures in place, because this is a challenge that the police, it appears, is not geared up to deal with, at least as of now. Let me quickly bring in our experts on this very special broadcast, both with deep knowledge of the lay of the land and ground realities in Manipur. Lieutenant General Konsam Himalay Singh is member of the Consultative Committee of the Manipur government on the Naga peace talks, and he's also former General Officer commanding of the Nagrota Corps. Also with me is Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, former Director General of Assam Rifles and former Chairman of the Ceasefire Monitoring Group. Gentlemen, welcome on India First. General Chauhan, does the use of drones to drop bombs mark a major escalation of this conflict, and does this change the very nature of operations on ground?
Gaurav, thank you for calling me on your show. I'm honored. There is no doubt that the moment this drone usage started and the first damage report came in, that this is a very dangerous time. It's a very dangerous escalation. But it's something that could have been foreseen. It should have been foreseen last year when the escalation started. Everyone knows that as problems happen, and we've seen it happen in Kashmir, we've seen it happen in all the disturbed areas, the amount of radicalization that takes place only increases, and then the technology and the kind of weapon systems that enter the fray only increase. So this was something that I foretold a year back, that look, solve this issue now. Don't let it escalate, because as it escalates, situations harden. The level of radicalization on both sides will be much greater, and their use of weapons will become greater and greater and greater. They are looking around the world. They are seeing what is happening in Ukraine. They are seeing what's happening in Gaza. They're seeing what's happening in Burma itself.
Yes.
The three brothers, the group of the three brothers are using drones extensively against the Tatmadaw of the Burmese army. So
okay,
it's just a movement this side.
Okay, General Singh, drones to drop bombs, like General Chauhan was pointing out, we've seen it in Ukraine, we've seen it in Russia, we've seen it in the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia, but the armies do that. What do you make of the situation on ground? Does this mark a dangerous escalation, and have the forces been caught off guard because the wound was left festering for too long, sir?
Firstly, thank you very much for having me on your show. I agree with General Shaukin Chauhan saying that it's a major escalation of the situation here, which was already, in a very bad situation. Now it is getting worse. So, as far as your question about this type of drones, my opinion is that firstly, the drones, the mini and very small varieties, they are available off the shelf. But in order to have a payload of 2 kgs or more, firstly, law prohibits you unless you take a permission. And such kind of a thing with a capability to drop bombs, as has been seen in the last few days, requires a little more coordination, little more kind of capability building, which, according to me, I think it is new, and also the know-how might have been influenced by the neighborhood instability in Myanmar. The PDF, which is fighting the Myanmar army, there are militant groups here in Manipur which are closely linked to the PDF as well, and other militant groups. So therefore, this situation is very dangerous, and it's a big challenge, huge challenge for the security apparatus, both internal and external as well, I'll say.
Oh, you're absolutely right on that account, Sir. General Chauhan, in hushed tones, there has been talk of foreign powers at work here, playing the internal differences. Sir, in your appreciation, are bigger games at play in Manipur right now, and perhaps for a year plus now?
Gaurav, I have no doubt about that. You have a neighbor a neighbor of Myanmar, of Burma, which is playing both sides in Burma. China is giving arms and ammunition to the three brothers, giving arms to the KLA, to the Chin National Front, the CNA. It's also giving arms to the Tatmadaw, and openly admits it. And China would want nothing more than creating more problems in India. There's a fault line. They utilize the fault line. We have to cover the fault line very quickly. We have to stop the fault line from extending itself. And instead of stopping it, we're allowing it to grow. The fissure, Gaurav, will only increase as time goes by. I've dealt with so many insurgent groups, both in the Northeast and in Kashmir. The next generation of insurgents are greater and more radicalized.
Yes.
And they come with better weapons. So we have to stop these fault lines from being, from creating these problems, and for allowing countries like China, which are inimical to us, from allowing them to exploit our fault lines. There's no doubt about that, Gaurav.
And General Singh, if the Director General of Manipur Police talks of the formation of an expert panel, he seeks views of DG NSG, DG Assam Rifles, the co-commander on how to neutralize this threat, how to deal with this emerging threat. Does that indicate that the militants and the powers behind the militants are actually a step, if not two, ahead of our security forces?
Firstly, I must say that security forces are, doing a good job. All the central and the state police, but the way it is evolving, it is a mix of. Some people tend to see it as ethnic conflict. It's not so. There are much more dimensions of this conflict as well. There are external powers. There are insurgent groups involved. There are neighbors involved. There are big powers involved. There is. So, normal law and order, we may be behind if we are thinking it as a normal law and order and ethnic conflict. In fact, I will call it today, I'll go to the extent of calling it's a threat to our national security. Once we admit that this is a threat to national security, other things will fall in place. So, this is something that, security planners will have to think more deeply about it, because unless we diagnose the disease or the problem, we will not be able to actually treat the issue here. So I will call upon the people who are in the establishment to understand that this is going to be a big threat to national security in the making, big threat in the making. I mean, given the situation all around, we in the neighborhood, and of course, the big threat from north. So therefore, one has to look at it, and I feel that more attention needs to be given from the national security perspective, as also from the internal security perspective. I think more needs to be done.
So let's talk about effective, tangible measures that need to be taken or needed to be taken as on yesterday, a year back, and that hasn't happened. General Chauhan, both of you have dealt with conflict management, conflict resolution, and ceasefire or peace monitoring. Where are we going wrong, General Chauhan, in Manipur? Because this problem has been festering for far too long now.
Gaurav, the anti-drone or counter-drone technology exists with the Assam Rifles. I can't understand why Manipur government did not foresee this problem and did not ask the Assam Rifles to help them out. Counter-drone technology exists all over the world. All the nations that are fighting these drones have a counter-drone. Russia is using it extensively, and so is the Tatmadaw. And there are simple solutions, and people in India have this technology. Why aren't they using this technology? And why are we doing it? As you said, it should have been done yesterday. Why is it being done day after? This technology, this thought process of getting together, of forming a group together and countering, the counter-insurgent forces must be together. Yes. Why are we at loggerheads with each other, Gaurav? This technology, like I said, is with the Assam Rifles, the counter-drone technology. It exists. It's in our country. It's with all our forces. Why is Manipur feeling itself let down? They must bring it there immediately along the fault lines. You must have the counter-drone technology, and you must bring down as many drones as possible. And
The
buy
use
as
of
many
this
counter-drone...
Yes, but isn't that
Yeah.
treating the symptom using counter drone technology? Yes, it is desperately required, should be done immediately, and Assam Rifles has the wherewithal. But treating the disease itself, General Singh, what needs to be done now? The Union Home Minister has spent time on ground, and yet, despite spending so much time on ground, a centre sending multiple teams. Effectively, they haven't been able to close the gap. The fissures only seem to widen. What's the solution, sir, in your view?
Gaurav, if you are talking about solution to the conflict, are you referring to that?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. I have answered part of your question in the earlier question also, that one needs to look at it from what angle. I mean, if you look at it as a ethnic conflict, I think you are likely to go wrong. I mean, that I began by saying that. But what I understand from the ground level, what I see around, and whatever interaction I've had with various strata of people, I feel that it is time that we, the big brother, the Indian state has to come into play. Not just leave it to the locals here that, okay, you're fighting and you are having, problem with each other, you sort it out yourself. I think it may not work out that way because of the situation here, because of the ecosystem here. So I think, in a very blunt way, I think the central government will have to take a greater role in making this, and there are ways and means. I am convinced that the central government can exercise its options, exercise its powers, to make sure that people start talking, and all these illegal people who are roaming around freely, they can be disarmed.
The illegals need to be disarmed. The illegals seem to be getting more weapons, higher technology weapons. Earlier drones, General Chauhan, were used for reconnaissance. Now they're being used, they've been weaponized. In 30 seconds, and I'm sorry, I've run out of time on this part of the show, your take on the solution. 3 quick steps, if you could list out, sir.
Firstly, get everyone together. All counterinsurgency forces must work together. They must have a coordinating committee, use technology available with each force. That's the first issue. Secondly, get the youth leaders of all the communities in Manipur. Get them together and tell them that it is their future generation that is going to be affected. Get them, force them to come to a solution. It's the youth that decide whether we're going to fight or not. It's their future. Thirdly, if there is a need for a political change, please do it effectively and quickly. These are the 3 things. If you do that, I'm certain you'll get peace. You must have a committee of peace and reconciliation. You must reconcile with each other, and don't leave any fault lines for China to use.
Don't leave any fault lines for hostile powers in India's neighborhood to use. Plain speak from 2 soldiers who know the lay of the land on ground. Gentlemen, for joining me here on India Today, many thanks. We'll track the story very, very closely. And I want to leave you on a happier note. With 15 medals, India is placed 15th in the Paralympics medals tally. There are more medals expected from the Indian contingent. We spoke to some of those who brought laurels to India. This is about victory against all odds. We bring you this India Today special from the Paralympic Games.
An IIT graduate, an IAS officer, an armless archer, India's para-athletes are shining bright in Paris. A maiden Paralympics appearance for the 29-year-old Nitesh Kumar, and he gets his hands on the biggest prize. Nitesh isn't just a genius on the court. He also happens to be a graduate from the prestigious IIT Mandi, the place where he discovered his passion for badminton.
एक्सीडेंट हुआ था तब ये इन सब चीजों का बहुत ज्यादा सेटबैक था, बहुत बुरा लग रहा था, बट आई नेवर न्यू दैट आई एम गोना कम इनटू स्पोर्ट्स अगेन, और मैं स्पोर्ट्स में इंडिया को रिप्रेजेंट करूंगा, इतना आगे आऊंगा. बट वो जर्नी थोड़ा सा पढ़ाई की तरफ गई, एंड देन आई गॉट इनटू आईआईटी, डिड एजुकेशन एंड एवरीथिंग. वहां पे समहाउ बैडमिंटन केम इनटू माय लाइफ, और फिर once I started playing para sports, then that's when I had this dream that I have to win gold medal for India.
There was another gold medal to follow, and this one came from javelin thrower Sumit Antil. He successfully defended his crown with the Paralympic record of 70.59 meters. There was more delight to follow as Sheetal Devi and Rakesh Kumar came together to win bronze in the mixed team compound archery event.
खुशी है कि मुझे बहुत अच्छा भी लग रहा है, इतने छोटी समय में, इतने छोटी उम्र में मैं यहाँ पर खेलने आई. अभी 3 साल हुए मुझे आर्चरी में. हाँ जी सर, मैं यही सोची, जब मैं पोडियम पे थी तो मैं ये सोचती थी तब कि अपने आप को कह रही थी कि शीतल तू हर जगह मेडल जीतती है और यहाँ पे तुझे मेडल लेके ही जाना अपने देश के लिए.
Tulsimati Murugesan and Manisha Ramdas also secured podium finishes, with Tulsimati getting a silver and Manisha bagging a bronze. India's medal tally got a further boost as IAS officer Sohas Yathiraj finished in second place.
सिल्वर पाने से एक मिक्स्ड फीलिंग होती है, गोल्ड से चूकने का एक दुख होता है, बट एट द सेम टाइम जब थोड़ा फीलिंग सिंक इन होती है तो देन महसूस होता है कि पैरालंपिक में क्वालिफाई करना ही इतनी बड़ी बात होती है, देश के लिए खेलना ही इतनी बड़ी बात होती है, और उसके बाद सिल्वर पाना भी मुझे लगता है कि अपने आप में एक बहुत खुशी और गर्व की बात है.
India's Yogesh Kathunia won silver in the men's discus throw F56 event to become a double medalist at the Paralympics. He had won a silver 3 years back in Tokyo as well. India have sustained their winning momentum in the Paralympics and are looking good to overhaul their previous best tally of 19 medals in Tokyo. Sports Bureau, India Today.
To say hello, I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
A maiden Paralympics appearance for the 29-year-old Nitesh Kumar, and he gets his hands on the biggest prize. In the gold medal match against Great Britain's Daniel Bethel, he displayed profound grit to emerge victorious 21-14, 18-21, 23-21. Nitesh isn't just a genius on the court. He also happens to be a graduate from the prestigious IIT Mandi, the place where he discovered his passion for badminton. His fellow shuttlers Tulsimati Murugesan and Manisha Ramdas also secured podium finishes, with Tulsimati getting a silver and Manisha bagging a bronze. Earlier in the day, India's Yogesh Kathunia won silver in the men's discus throw F56 event to become a double medalist at the Paralympics. He had won a silver 3 years back in Tokyo as well. India's medal tally has risen to 11, and the para athletes are doing their best to keep the Indian flag flying high